Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this 8th edition of our Brand Growth event. And if you think, my name is Lucas Hulsebos and I'm the owner of DVJ Insights. If you think about brand growth, it's always about what you practice is what you preach. So I can also announce today, actually at the same moment, we will receive our second Gazelle International for 8 years of consecutive growth. So not only is it our 8th brand growth event, we also have been able to grow more than 25% every year. The brand growth event or the brand growth platform started 10 years ago, or even a little bit longer ago, I think. When we were asked by the then just published work from Byron Sharp about how brands grow, we were asked by a lot of our clients to give master classes to bring the learnings from that book to life. What does it mean to grow? What do you need to do in marketing? What do you need to do in research? How can you actually create an organization that's ready for growth? So by doing that, we also started conversations with different marketers, different people from the academic world, and we learned actually that there's so much more to learn and to investigate. And that was actually the starting point of our brand growth platform. And in our brand growth platform, we always tend to look at what happens in science, but also keep a close eye on practitioners by interviewing them, by doing a yearly study. And instead of just asking the same questions every year, we decided to choose one specific topic which could be an ingredient for growth, or which could be a driver for growth. So this year we have chosen the ingredient or the issue or the theme of promotions, especially because promotions is not always, everyone not always agrees that promotions are or is a driver for growth. You might say that it doesn't bring short-term growth or long-term growth. There's at least a lot of debate around it. So we thought it was a good idea to do this year's ingredient for growth around promotions and also invite people from the academic world and people from the practitioners world. So for today we have a fantastic lineup. We start with Professor Laurens Sloot, who gives his academic perspective on this topic. After that, we have Jori van de Spijker, who will present the results of our brand growth study, which we have done globally this year with more than 2,000 marketing professionals. After a short break, we have the growth story from Rituals, I think one of the most fast-growing Dutch brands that we have. And finally, at the end of this program, we will end with the consumer perspective, or our psychologist, Misha Koster. He will share his perspective on why and how and what's the reasons why consumers actually would like to see promotions or not. But let's start with Laurens Sloot, Professor Dr. Laurens Sloot, founder of the EFMI Business School and also professor at the University of Groningen. I can say a lot of things about you, but what I think is the most important thing, if something happens in retail and the press and the news want to hear a good perspective or a good opinion, they always call Laurens. That's also why we did that. So Laurens, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Happy to be here. Lucas invited me to talk about price promotions, and for EFMI Business School I teach a lot to managers in practice. I talk a lot to companies, and what I see is that there is a difference between, let's say, the academic debate about the effectiveness of promotions and what's happening in practice. So I will try to show this debate between science and practice. First of all, if we talk about promotions, there are a lot of different type of promotions. I will focus on price promotions. And what is a price promotion? In general, it is a temporary reduction of the price. For example, half price or buy 3, pay 2, those kind of promotions. Mostly that runs for, let's say, one week. Now, these promotions are important. I will talk mainly about the food retail channel, which is actually a big chunk within retail. About 40% of total retail sales are food retail sales, so mainly supermarkets, hypermarkets, those type of companies. And if you take a look at what amount of the total amount of sales is done via promotions, it's about 25% in the Netherlands and in Italy, about 20% in France, Spain, Germany. But in a US market, it's almost 35%. So that's a really promotionally driven market. So that's a lot. And if you take a look at the discounts given, for example, this is the Netherlands, the market leader Albert Heijn. It's a high-low player. On national brands, they usually give a discount of about 35%. And on store brands, of course, which they have to pay themselves, a discount of about 22%. So the average discount in a price promotion is about 30% off the regular price. Albert Heijn sells about 25% of all their sales are promoted sales. So if you sell 30%, 25% of all the sales with a discount of 30%, the total amount you give to the consumers is 7.5% price reduction. And that's kind of huge because most retailers have EBITs of 2 to 3% of sales, Albert Heijn about 4% of sales. So they actually spend about twice the money compared to their total profit. So if you spend that much on a marketing instrument, you better be sure that it is effective. Well, how effective is it? There are some very good, thorough academic studies about it. This is a study of Manik de Kimpe et al., based on a, let's say, 4-year database of over 500 different types of products. And what they see is that on the short term, most price promotions are effective. So they increase sales, let's say, by a factor of 4, 5, or 6 during the week the product is on promotion. But if you take out, let's say, the dust settling effect, so for example, if you buy detergent, you normally have for 1 or 2 month detergents at home. So if you also correct, let's say, for that period, that you have it in-house, maybe 2 or 3 packages, the week after you buy less because you already have it at your home, then it's only positive for about 58% of all the categories. If you take a look at the long-term effect, so let's say, heavily price-promoted categories, do they grow faster, let's say, than other categories? That in 98% of the categories, their conclusion is that all these promotions don't grow the category. Only in 2% of the categories, and those are very innovative categories, where people, let's say, can try those new products, newly introduced products, because there is a good promotion, so they don't have to pay that much. And of course, companies hope that they will keep buying that product. Main conclusion is promotions do not really grow category sales. Then for a manufacturer, is it a positive for a manufacturer? This is a study of Koen Pauwels et al. What they see generally is that if there is a brand promotion, that the category incidence on the short term is a bit higher, so more people buy from that category, for example, orange juice. Also, of course, the brand that is on promotion sells a lot more. But if you take a look at the long term, then you see that, okay, people buy the brand, but then they have it at home, so that's a form of forward buying. So the week after, they sell a bit less. The category incidence, dus the fact that a category is heavily promoted, results in a slightly higher category incidence, but on the long term, that effect also erodes. So it's a bit in line with the study of Manik de Kimpe. So it's not really positive for category growth. It is also not really positive for long-term brand growth. Of course, there is a positive effect in the short term, but for the long term, it doesn't really grow your brand. And finally, for the supply chains, it's very, let's say, inefficient. Because as a retailer, if you have a product on promotion, you sell a lot of products to the store, and you want to be sure that there won't be out of stock, so you send a bit extra, and then you have a sort of bullwhip effect. You have extra in the stores, extra in the warehouses, and the manufacturer has to produce it, it needs a lot more. So for the supply chains, it's inefficient, and it leads to higher cost than strictly necessary. So actually what academics say, well, these promotions are not really effective and they're also not efficient. So practice why do you do that? Companies said, hey, but we are not stupid, we understand the market. So what could be reasons for companies to, let's say, go on with promotions? First of all, the market is the market. And what I mean by that it is very difficult for an individual company, let's say, to change the rules of the game. So if there is a segment or a market or a product group which is heavily promoted, it is very difficult, let's say, to stop with promotions. You have to adapt to the rules of the market. And a very interesting experiment is done by JCPenney, the American warehouse store, about 10 years ago. And you know that for many products, you start with a higher price, and then when the season is almost over, you drop the price and you have sale for 50, 60, 70% discount. So they, let's say, went back to everyday low pricing, what they call, how they called it, it was the no discount strategy. But in the end, they lost over 30% of their sales and they almost went bankrupt. In the end, they went bankrupt post-COVID, but that's another story. And let's say the stock price of JCPenney went lower, I think, for about 20% on one day when let's say the market saw this strategy isn't working. So how important is our promotion? This is research of EFMI Business School. Each year they interview about 2,500 shoppers, household shoppers, so this is within the context of food retail. And what we see is that the percentage of, let's say, cherry pickers, so the bargain hunters who really read the leaflet and based on the leaflet they decide at what store they will buy and also partly what they will buy. And what we see is that the percentage of cherry pickers is gradually increasing to almost half of, let's say, all the shoppers. So about half of all the households that shop at supermarkets, they occasionally or frequently read the leaflet of each week with the 50 or 100 promotions, and based on that they decide if they are going to shop at store A, B or C, or and what categories and what brands to buy. So it is a very important marketing mechanism. One interesting study of Fox and Hoch, it's an older study, but it's an interesting study based on also household data. What they found is that these cherry pickers, so they read the leaflet, based on that they also decide what they buy, and on average these cherry pickers, they save 5% extra on their grocery bill. So that's pretty much. An average household buys, let's say, for about €500, $500 groceries each month. So that's $25 extra savings per month, so about $300 per year. But besides that, what they also saw is that the cherry pickers, so who bought more promotions, are also, let's say, the big shoppers. They spend about 2/3 more per trip. And if you take a more detailed look to these let's say, cherry pickers, and you take a look at, let's say, all kind of socio-demographic characteristics, you see that the larger households are, let's say, more influenced by these promotions. Homeowners, why? You might think that they don't need it, but they have space to store it, for example, in their garage at home. So they have bigger houses. Older people have more time, so they're also more affected by promotions. Household income is negatively correlated with promotional buying, so households with higher income are less influenced by promotions, but the lower income households, they will look for sure for these bargains. And finally, if both partners are working in a household, it means there's less time to do shopping, so they're also less, let's say, sensitive for price promotion. So large households and the more price sensitive because of several reasons, but mainly income. So with promotions, you can, let's say, address an important part of your customer base. So why are promotions important? We know they're expensive, there's a lot of hassle with it. It costs a lot of money, so why should retailers still go on? For a retailer, they know that almost each shopper can choose from, let's say, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 supermarkets in the neighborhood. In the UK, that can be Tesco, Morrisons, Lidl, for example. In Belgium, Delhaize, Albert Heijn, also Aldi, Lidl. In the Netherlands, Albert Heijn, Plus, Jumbo, Dirk van den Broek. So consumers have a lot of choice. And based, let's say, on this leaflet, part of the shoppers might decide, I'm not going to, let's say, the Albert Heijn, but to the Dirk van den Broek this week to do my weekly grocery shopping. Not only buying, let's say, the bargains, the price promotions, but also their other stuff. For brand manufacturers, there might be also some important reasons. We have to understand that an average household only buys 30, 40, 50, maybe 60, if you have a big household, different products per week. But in an average supermarket, you can find 10, 20, 30, or sometimes even 40 or 50,000 different articles. So the question is, how do you stand out in a world with, let's say, over assortment, in a cluttered world? And then these leaflets are, let's say, pretty effective, because in a leaflet there are only 50, 100, 200 products. Many households use these leaflets to think about what they could buy, what they could eat, let's say, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. And they can also base, let's say, what they will buy based on what's in promotion. So it actually lowers the choice complexity. And for a brand manufacturer, it is, let's say, a way to come through. Because in an average supermarket of, let's say, 20,000 products, if a consumer shops for, let's say, half an hour, that means that the consumer is for 1,800 seconds in the store. If this consumer would have to review all these articles, it means they have less than 1/10 of a second to look at each product. Well, that's not doable. So the leaflet is a very interesting, let's say, shortcut that lowers the choice complexity. And some brand manufacturers, so they understand promotions are important, promotions are there to stay. So if they are there to stay, you can also, let's say, change your strategy. And a very interesting example is Sun. It's one of the brands of Unilever. They have plenty of promotions where they say, get 3 and only pay 1. And that seems an incredible discount of about 67%. So you cannot neglect this as a consumer. But the funny thing is that if you look at, let's say, the promotional price, it's still over 8 cents per tablet. And if you compare that, let's say, to the store brand of Albert Heijn, the store brand is still much cheaper than that. So the price difference is, if you take the store brand as a basis, about 30%. But it looks like a fantastic deal for the consumer, and there is information about this promotion in the leaflet. So very smart from Unilever, and actually what they do, the regular price is very high, only 20 to 30% of the sales are probably done at the regular price, and each 4, 6, 8 weeks they have a promotion, and many households buy for 6 or 8 weeks dishwasher tablets. So finally, who is the smartest? There is an interesting saying in the US, if you're so smart, why ain't you rich? Well, I think there are some different levels of smartness. Academics, they are very intelligent. They can disentangle all type of effects. They can say, hey, it doesn't grow, so why do you do it? But practitioners, they understand the rules of the game, and they're streetwise. And probably they don't really like to do all these promotions, but they also understand that they have to prevent a loss of sales. So that's it for now, and I'm looking forward for the discussion with Lucas.
Well, thank you, Laurent. I think your last slide actually explained why it's good to integrate academic thinking and learnings from the practitioner side. There are a couple of questions coming from the audience, but one of the questions I had was around everyday low pricing. So you see everyday low pricing as a strategy that sometimes has been used, sometimes has been changed. Recently, a Dutch retailer talked about it again. So what is your advice? For those companies that now have the choice to go for everyday low pricing?
Yeah, I think from theory, everyday low pricing is a superior pricing strategy because you don't have the supply chain bumps. Customers know that price is a fair price. But the point is that if all your competitors go on with price promotions, there will always be a competitor in the neighborhood that is cheaper on the product you would like to buy compared to the EDLP player. And I think I also showed that about 43% of the consumers are actually cherry pickers. And you cannot, as an individual company, change that behavior. So it is like with elections, you have a lot of voters who are not sure if they are going to vote for party A, B or C, but you need them for your success. And that's the same within retailing.
So what would be your advice? Do or don't?
I wouldn't dare to do that because the chance that you lose maybe 10 or 20% of your sales, like the JCPenney's example, well, I wouldn't advise it at any company, to be honest.
I think that's a clear recommendation.
And if you want to be an everyday low price player, be sure that you have the lowest cost structure in the market. So for Aldi or Lidl or Hornbach, that could be possible. But for service retailers, it's actually very dangerous.
Yeah. There was also one question coming from the audience. And they say, you talk a lot about these almost physical examples.
Yeah.
There's a whole new world of online shopping.
Yeah.
Do the same principles apply?
Of course, in the online world, it's easier, let's say, to give you promotion A and another person with another profile another type of promotion. So if you always buy Pampers online, why should I give you a promotion? You're probably, let's say, satisfied with the brand. But a competing brand can try to offer you a good promotion that you can switch from brand A to brand B. Yeah. So I think in online, let's say, you can more detail the promotion to the right segment, and that could be a smart strategy. What I also see in online grocery retailing, which is still not profitable, is that many companies are withdrawing the number of promotions they offer online. And so you can get the promotions if you come to the store, but online they try to limit the number of promotions because, of course, the promotions are very expensive for the manufacturers as well as for the retailers.
And is that then related to what you described as that attention effect? Because you don't have that attention effect online?
What I noticed online, and especially within grocery retailing, that the online loyalty towards one certain, let's say, online web shop, that can be, for example, Picnic or Albert Heijn online or Tesco online, is much higher compared to the loyalty of the customers to physical stores. The customers tend to switch more easily from store A to store B to store C than they do compared to online grocery retailing. So that means probably that within online grocery retailing, you can decrease the number of promotions and consumers will still be loyal to you. But it's a different world, to be honest.
Hey, and you talk about effect on sales. So based upon some conversation I had, it's always sometimes also interesting to talk about branding effect. Is there a positive or negative branding effect of promotions?
Sometimes it's said that it lowers the price reference. So if you often have products on brands on promotion, consumers get used to the lower price, and it may feel more expensive if you see the regular price. But to be honest, promotions build short-term sales. And if you have many short-term sales bumps, it's also a long-term sales bump. But I don't really think that it really builds the brand in terms of brand values, brand image, brand associations. But in the end, you need sales also to, let's say, pay for advertising. Yeah.
Hey, and just to as a final question, I like always hearing good examples, smart companies that do something smart. But we also learn from the mistakes companies make. Yeah. What is, if you look at all the examples that you have, what's the one example that you would like to share?
I'm not sure if Unilever is really smart with the Sun strategy. We have to evaluate it on a longer term. On the other hand, there are also companies, Procter & Gamble, the main competitor of Unilever, they once tested, let's say, a value pricing strategy for many categories in the US. So that means that the regular price is not $1.99 and the promotional price $1.49, but let's say the whole year $1.89 or $1.79. So also an EDLP strategy, but they lost in the end market share. So they also came back to that. I think the most important thing is that many companies would like to have a lower promotional percentage. But it's a sort of prisoner dilemma. If you, let's say, stop with promotions, another will fill the gap. So you have to. And I think it's just a cost of being in business. And you have to deal with it and do it as smart as possible.
Thank you, Laurens, and thank you for all the insights.